my best friend proposed to me in public. I was getting a caricature done at a street vendor, laughing because, well, we were never anything more than friends. But then he disappeared, and soon after, I found out he'd been detained by the police. Honestly, I'm still in shock about what happened, so this might be a bit all over the place. Please bear with my fake names and all that. I met Jordan 2 years ago when we both started university. We were both mature students, a little older than the usual crowd, and we quickly bonded as we shared a dorm. We joked about how mature we were for being in our early 20s. Though we weren't in the same course, we spent nearly every day together outside of class. We'd join societies, go out for drinks on weekends, and basically just hang out non-stop. We made other friends, of course, but we were always each other's go-to. Now it's spring break for Easter, and although we hadn't been hanging out every day, we decided to visit each other's hometowns. We're from very different places, and today we were visiting mine. It's a big city, the kind that's always busy with tourists and street vendors selling everything from hot dogs to goofy Pokémon Day hats. I decided to get a caricature done as something I'd never done before and thought would be a fun souvenir for my dorm room. I asked Jordan if he wanted to join, but he wasn't interested, so I went ahead. The whole thing only took about 10 minutes, so I was looking straight ahead at the artist the whole time. When it was done, I loved it. I turned around to show Jordan, expecting him to laugh at it, but instead, I was completely blindsided. Was down on one knee, holding a ring box. I have no idea what he actually said, if there was a speech or anything, because I was so stunned that all I could do was laugh. I honestly thought it was some weird joke. We've never been the prankster types, but I couldn't make sense of what was happening. So I just laughed, but then I saw his face. He looked heartbroken. That's when I asked, "You're not serious, right?" I'll never forget his response. He shut the box, stood up, shrugged, and said, "I guess not anymore," before walking away. And just like that, I was left standing in the middle of a crowd of strangers, most of whom were glaring at me. It was incredibly awkward. We had plans to meet back at our hotel, where we were staying in rooms next door to each other. So I figured he'd just gone ahead, but when I got there, he wasn't in his room. I waited for a while, then texted him around 1:15 p.m. to check in. It's now 6:20 p.m., and I still haven't heard from him. So I decided to check my messages. He finally replied with a long text, which I won't post here to respect his privacy. In the message, he accused me of leading him on, saying I humiliated him publicly, and questioned why I hadn't ended things sooner. He claimed he thought we were in a serious relationship, that we were on the same page about our feelings, and that this was the next step for us. I'm completely lost. We've never been anything more than friends. The most physical contact we've ever had is a hug, hello, and goodbye. I've never flirted with him, not even in jest, because I've seen too many friendships fall apart where one person misreads the other's intentions. I don't find him attractive, and I've never considered being in a relationship with him. I don't understand where he got the idea that we were together. I'm still processing everything. He hasn't come back to the hotel, and I've knocked on his door and listened for him, but nothing. I'm really not sure how to respond to his text. To be honest, I'm still in shock, and I feel like I don't know what to do. I haven't told anyone in person yet, because I don't want to drag other people into this mess. So here I am, writing to strangers on Reddit. What do I do now? Update 1. I'm not just back at my parents' house now, staying here for a bit until school starts up again. It feels good to be home. So, Jordan did not come back to the hotel that night. I waited until 1 a.m., but he never returned. The next morning, the hotel staff told me he checked out around 6 a.m. I finally responded to his long text, taking the advice I got from people online. I told him I was sorry things didn't go as he expected, but I honestly had no idea where he got the idea that we were a couple. I offered to meet up to talk things through, so we could clear up any misunderstandings. He wasn't happy with that. His response was more of the same, accusing me of breaking up with him. Even though I had told him repeatedly we weren't in a relationship, he still wasn't processing it. He kept texting me, telling me how hurt he was and how much he loved me. He even mentioned the engagement ring. saying it was my favorite gemstone, ruby, instead of diamond, which got me wondering just how much he spent on it. The texts kept coming, but I stopped replying. It was just the same thing over and over. I'm asking where he got this idea, him ignoring that and going on about how devastated he was. Eventually, I just couldn't keep up with it anymore. I'm still unsure how to move forward. His messages didn't make sense, and I feel like I'm just stuck in an alternate reality. So, after the flood of texts, around 60, all of them just one sentence each, Jordan eventually apologized in his final message. He said it didn't matter anymore, because I wouldn't be seeing him around. Naturally, I was concerned and asked for clarification. He responded by saying that he planned to drop out of university and go home, because he couldn't handle the shame. And just like that, our conversation ended. I didn't really know how to respond to that. As of now, I still have no idea where Jordan is. I didn't ask him, which I realize now was a mistake. I'm not sure when or if we'll talk again. I know this update probably feels a bit anticlimactic. Sorry about that. There's no dramatic "he showed up at my door" or "he sent me flowers" moment. It just feels like there's so much left unresolved. I still don't understand where he got the idea that we were dating. He hasn't explained it, and unfortunately, I can't offer that answer. I haven't reached out to his family yet. I did consider it, but if he's not going through a mental health crisis, I don't want to involve them unnecessarily. Mini update. A lot of people suggested I ask our mutual friends if Jordan ever mentioned anything about us dating, or if he'd ever shown signs of thinking we were in a relationship. I've asked a few of our friends, just 5 people so far, and they've all said they had no clue. They've never heard him mention anything like that before. I'm not sure if this is a new development or something that's been building up over time. In any case, I've also taken screenshots of all his texts, just in case. Looking back at them with a slightly clear head, they definitely read as manic. I still haven't heard back from his mom yet. Update 2. Hey again. I didn't think I'd be making another update, but here I am. I know I said my last post would be my final one, so sorry for the silence. It's been about a week since my last update, and I didn't want to post unless something significant happened. Well, something did. Jordan's mom reached out to me on Facebook the same day I posted the last update. We talked for a while, and she's honestly a really nice lady. She agreed that this whole situation was way out of character for Jordan. In fact, she mentioned that she'd noticed a few signs in the last few weeks, that something was off with him, nothing too alarming, but little things here and there that weren't like him. We had a long discussion about Jordan's mental health, and she told me there's a history of mental illness on his dad's side, including a paternal uncle's suicide. However, she doesn't know too many details because they've been estranged for a while. We talked for about an hour, and I showed her some of the texts he'd sent me. She agreed that they did seem manic, even though they were coherent. A lot of people asked if Jordan had ever told our mutual friends that we were dating, and I reached out to a few people. They all said they had no idea what I was talking about. It seems like he's been keeping these thoughts to himself without mentioning them to anyone else. Unfortunately, I don't know how to get in touch with his close friends that I don't share with him, so I can ask them. For a few days, I didn't hear anything new, but then, yesterday evening, Jordan's mom gave me an update. Apparently, he'd been detained by the police under Section 136. For anyone unfamiliar with this in the UK, as I was until recently, Section 136 is when someone is detained by the police because their behavior in public indicates they might have a mental health issue and pose a danger to themselves or others. The police believe they need immediate care, so they're taken to a place where they can be assessed. From what I understand, he was out on the streets, yelling about things. His mom didn't give specifics and causing a scene. People thought he was drunk, but after an assessment, the police realized he wasn't. That's all I know for now. His mom said they're likely performing a mental health assessment today, so I assume that's ongoing. I spoke to her again, and we both think that Jordan may be going through a mental health crisis, possibly even psychosis. It seems like the rejection of his proposal might have triggered this downward spiral. Honestly, I feel awful about that. I'm doing my best not to blame myself, but it's hard not to feel like I played a part in it. Right now, he's with the police and mental health professionals, likely undergoing an assessment. I'm not sure what will happen next. I don't know how the system works. If anyone has more knowledge, I'd appreciate any insight. But at this point, I'm hopeful that this means Jordan will finally get the help he needs. I really hope this will be the last update. I haven't contacted the university yet. Not sure if I should or how to go about it, so I'm holding off for now. This whole situation has been a roller coaster of emotions, and I'm grateful for all the support from everyone on my previous posts. If nothing major happens, I'll be leaving it at this point. Thank you again for everything. My wife and her best friend tried to force their kids to date for years. When my son rejected her daughter's public proposal, she got bullied at school. Then my wife demanded he apologize. This is a throwaway, but I'm dealing with some high school drama level nonsense that, honestly, I shouldn't be involved in at my age. Maybe I'm missing something here, but I just need to get it out there. I'm 45 and married to my wife for 1F, and we have 2 kids together, me daughter 17F and son 15Ms. My wife has been best friends with another woman for 0F for a long time. My wife's best friend has 2 daughters and is 18F, and the other is 15F. Let's call her Lily. When my wife's best friend moved to town 6 years ago, she and my wife started pushing for their 15-year-olds to date. I thought it was weird, but I didn't make a big deal of it at first. About 2 years ago, Lily developed a crush on my son. He came to me about it, and I reassured him that it was important to be clear and respectful but firm in letting her know he wasn't interested. He's been telling her this for the past 2 years. She's asked him out several times, and every time, he told her politely that he wasn't interested. Fast forward to last summer, and Lily's older sister turned 18. Her family threw a huge weekend-long celebration for her birthday, which included a couple's dinner for the oldest daughter and her friends. Lily didn't have a date and asked my son to go with her, but he made it clear he was only going as a friend, which she accepted. After the dinner, they watched 10 Things I Hate About You together, and my son commented on the Heath Ledger singing scene, which will be important later. Now, here's where things really get tricky. My business partner throws a massive Halloween party every year, and all employees, family, and close friends are invited. The costume party requires everyone to dress up, and there are prizes for best costume, best couple's costume, and best group costume. Of course, Lily and her family are always invited. This year, Lily asked my son to be her date for the party, and he flat out rejected her. He told her again that he wasn't interested, and it became a public scene at school. He made sure everyone heard him say it. This led to Lily running off crying and being bullied by her classmates. My wife's best friend was furious and demanded that my son apologize to Lily for rejecting her in front of everyone. My wife also agreed, believing that at the very least, my son should defend her daughter against the bullying. My son, however, was frustrated. He had told Lily multiple times over the past 2 years that he wasn't interested. He felt that after all of that, it was bordering on harassment, and that he shouldn't be forced to defend himself against bullying he didn't provoke. I agreed with my son, and tensions between my wife and I started to escalate over this disagreement. To make things worse, another girl Lily doesn't get along with asked my son to be her date for the party, and he agreed. They planned an amazing couple's costume, and my wife flipped out. She believed he should have turned the other girl down out of respect for Lily. I found that absurd, and we ended up getting into a serious argument. I ended up taking my son and his friend to the party myself, which made my wife refuse to go. She called me an a-hole and said I was raising my son to be one too. Update 1, November 14th, 2024. So, after the Halloween party, my wife still didn't speak to me for a while, but eventually, the tension died down. She still felt I'd done something wrong, but she mostly accepted that what was done was done. The bullying at school, however, kept escalating. Lily confronted the girl who went with my son to the Halloween party, which made things worse. The bullying started spreading to other girls, and 2 factions formed at school over the whole situation. My son was accused of cheating. Even though the truth was clear to his close friends, he wasn't bothered by the rumors because his real friends knew the truth. A week ago, the school called us in for a meeting to address the situation. They wanted my son to apologize for the bullying and defend Lily to the other students. My son refused, so he brought up all the times he told Lily he wasn't interested and explained how her behavior had been harassment. The school pushed back, but we left the meeting with my son, promising to provide a list of everything Lily had done over the past 2 years. That evening, my son prepared the list, which he shared with my wife and me. When my wife saw the list, it was like a light bulb went off. She was emotional, apologized to my son and me, and we had a group hug. She now fully supported him. She even asked if she could share the list with her best friend, and my son agreed. When my wife's best friend saw the list, she doubled down on her position and demanded that my son apologize to Lily. My wife has since gone low contact with her. On Wednesday, we took the list to the school. Since it's a private school with a strict code of conduct, Lily may face consequences for her actions. I took my son out of school for the day so we could hang out, and he went back today. Update to January 18th, 2025. This is the final update. After all the drama last semester, my wife's best friend decided to move her daughter to a different school. A week ago, my son received an email from Lily apologizing for everything that had happened and asking if they could remain friends. Apparently, her father finally sat her down and explained how things looked from a guy's perspective. My son wrote back, accepting the apology, but saying he thought it was best to keep his distance. He wished her luck at the new school. My wife's best friend is still insisting that my son should apologize to her daughter, but my wife has made it clear that won't be happening. Since then, a few more kids were disciplined by the school, but the situation has calmed down. We've been going to family counseling, which has been helpful, and things are starting to settle. This will be the last update. Thanks to everyone who supported us through this.